Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live, taking some questions, going to show some CSS critiques. And before we get started, I don't know if you saw the Instagram story article I linked in there um, yesterday, should still be up today, but it's about an important topic that a lot of people screw up whenever they are preparing or training themselves to get ready for various selection programs. And a lot of people neglect their weakness, believe it or not. And those weaknesses get exposed really quickly when they are being challenged with typical events at any spec ops selection program. And sometimes even basic military training programs, depending on your level of fitness. And everybody wants to work out with things they are good at doing, but they don't want to do things they are not good at doing. And if you're going to go into this journey of being a tactical athlete, you have to take those weaknesses and turn them into a strength. So it's not like your typical athletic training where you are trying to be great in a particular element of fitness so you can make a sports team, but you definitely need to be good at everything. And sometimes that means maybe taking a strength and pulling back a little bit, not being as great as you are in that strength, so you can spend more time on that weakness so you can bring that up to speed so you are now good at it, where it's not going to be an anchor on you when you go through training. So, a big for instance is I will tell you my story. It, many of you have heard me use the term powerlifting football player. That comes with some strengths and weaknesses in there already. Just as there are strengths and weaknesses if you're coming into this journey with as an endurance athlete, and even more so if it's a non-impact endurance athlete. There's even more challenges to that. So, my typical weaknesses were I was running and muscle stamina. So I was good for few reps, heavy weight, short, fast speed, a little bit of agility. Um, but, um, running anything over, a quarter mile was really one, not needed in my particular athletic world, but two, um, it was just hard, right? It was not fun to go for a long, slow run, right? And long distance back then was, a mile and a half was long distance. So that is the type of mentality going into this journey that many people have. And eventually you will learn that the mile and a half is not long distance. And you will be able to turn that mentality upside down and say, all right, mile and a half, that's easy. Now I got to get ready for this 4, 5, 6 mile run and be at a decent pace for that. That's going to take another level of training. And unfortunately, at first, it's doing things you are not good at doing. And if you're doing it with other people in a large group and you're losing all the time, that's demoralizing. And it happens all the time. I have a couple of articles in there. In fact, I'll probably post one today about my first PT pyramid I ever did. And there was running mixed in afterwards, and I was the last runner that came across the finish line, and because I was one of the last guys to finish the PT pyramid, and I was like, oh my god, the SEAL PT is killing me. And this was long before I was, a really SEAL candidate. It was probably about 2 years before I actually became a competitive candidate. Um, but it was a long journey of not meeting the standard and failing, and knowing that you suck at something, but if you got the right mindset, you can turn that around and say, I'm going to really focus on this because I suck at it. And if I really want this, I need to practice it more. So the things that I was good at doing, I didn't do anymore. I quit lifting. I quit powerlifting. I didn't play football, not of my choice, is because I just didn't make the team. And started running more and I played a different sport that had a little more cardiovascular activity to it. And that journey, after a couple of years, was what I needed. So that's why I always tell people be patient with the process, because sometimes it takes a while before you're a really good candidate. And unfortunately, what most people do is they go into this journey of wanting to be a spec ops guy, and they take 4 to 6 months getting ready for it, and they think they're ready for it, and lo and behold, they're not, and they're part of the 80% attrition rate that is spec ops training. So be ready. All right, so let's see what we have here. Taking some questions, and then I'll show some CSS videos. Let me pull some of those CSS videos up, and we will. All right, I got those ready for whenever there's a lull in questions. We'll go with some of these videos. All right, so Stu, my local pool limits training sessions to 3 times a week. Wow, that's weird. How do you maximize a 3-day-a-week training schedule in the water, or is it vital for candidates to be in the water 5 times a week? I will tell you this, if you're a swimmer, no, you don't need to swim 5 times a week. If you're good at swimming, you don't need to swim 5 times a week. 3 is enough. However, if you suck at swimming, you need more time in the pool. It just goes like how I introduced this show, was talking about working on your strengths and your weaknesses. And, you got to focus on your weakness more. So depends. I wore the shirt especially for you. That answer is it depends. Depends on your abilities. Some need more for technique and conditioning, and some need less because they crush the swim and they need to get in the weight room, or they need to run more because they suck at those. But no, it is not vital, and the answer is it depends. Good question, though. For guys prepping for Army SF, how often do they train land navigation? In your opinion, should be working on orienteering club before signing 18 X-ray contract. Yeah, if you're trying to go Army SF, you don't even need 3 days a week in the swimming pool. SEAL candidate, Marine Recon, MARSOC, Air Force PJ, you definitely do. The swimming challenge, Navy diver, EOD, all of those need more time in the pool. Army SF, however, completely different. Don't need time in the pool. You need more time on land, doing land things. Land nav is a very important aspect of it. My recommendation would be to, orienteering clubs are great ways to get better at land nav. In fact, a couple of our folks who are Army and are on high school or college orienteering clubs, they have been very helpful in helping other guys prepare for what is land nav. And we're very appreciative of that. They have great courses, that you can find access to in your local area. I would definitely recommend that if you can find that. So Google it, see what kind of land nav courses are. At worst, read about it, go online, watch some videos, carry a compass with you. If you can find a map of the terrain where you're running trails or just doing stuff, you can kind of play around with land nav and understand you're going 10 degrees north for a bearing, straight bearing, and you can kind of test out if you're running straight or not. Playing around that. I would definitely recommend some land nav. But once you're in the Army, you're also going to learn land nav. And one of the unique skills, or I should say abilities, that occur in these military training programs is your ability to learn new skills quickly and apply them to what you have to do. I mean, that is part of the challenge that is these spec ops selections. Not only are they physically challenging, but they are tactically challenging too. And if you don't learn how to dive and you don't learn how to shoot, you don't learn how to do land nav quick enough, you may not meet the standards that that course is setting. So I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm just saying that there are many people who get through these training programs having never shot a weapon before, and they meet those standards. Having never done land nav before or scuba dive before, they meet those standards and they can be a military scuba diver or military operator, right? First time ever. So understand you don't necessarily need to practice every single thing that is coming up in your future. If you can, great. If you can't, that's okay too. You just be able to learn fast. How do you like to track your workouts? And do you track everything you eat too? Journal, spreadsheet, big paper calendar? Good question. Yeah, I write down everything that I do. I'm a little bit old school with food. I typically use, pad and paper like this. I keep a clipboard up in the kitchen, and if I put it in my mouth, I write it down. And then try to, figure out calories at the end of the day, where I am. And I tell you, that's a good little thing to get used to doing, because that form of like adding an extra step before you put something in your mouth, especially if you're trying to lose weight, is a great way to just add another layer of discipline to your day. And I found it to be very helpful. Like I will like pull out the snack drawer and look at my pad and paper in front of it and say, I really don't want to write down I'm about to eat these bag of chips. So I shut the door, find something else, eat an apple. That I don't mind writing down. I ate an apple, for a snack in the afternoon. So that's what I tend to do. Yeah, I write down everything, usually use a Word document. Basically the way my books are written is the way I write my workouts. So when you see, a program like this, right, my workouts look like that, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or day 1 to 6. And, I try to get 6 days in a 7-day week. So there you go. I should have split my mileage up during the week. You have any good tips for calf pain from running? You know what? I'm experiencing calf pain from running, and something that helps me is the foam roller, right? And actually use the kettlebell today, just the kettlebell handle, put my calf on top of that kettlebell handle and just found the spot that needed kind of pressing. It's a little knot in there. Completely relaxed my calf after about a minute and a half of somewhat painful. I mean, it was so painful it was causing me to sweat. And completely relaxed it to a point where I could go running and not feel pain. So that was good. I will show you this. I'm going to put this into the going to put this article into the comment section. I just posted it. It's a running plan. It's about 20 miles a week of running. Just gives you ideas of how to add in different running days. You do a hill day, you do a beach day, you do some goal pace intervals, you do sprint days, you do long, slow distance days. so many different ways to arrange it. You can just see the way I arrange it. Let's see, a couple more, then we'll show the first video on CSS. When preparing for buds, what is the peak weekly mileage you recommend, and how should you maintain it? You know what? Good question. That article I just posted is something you need to check out. Let me see if I can find this article. Actually, the article I wrote is, I swear, sometimes you can ask Google the same question you asked me, and you will find an answer of me writing about it. So this article is called, How Many Miles Per Week Should You Run Before Buds or Other Selection Programs? So I just put that in there. Check that out. It really does depend. I don't recommend flatlining for a very long time at 40 or 50 miles a week. I recommend building up your ability to handle that kind of volume over a rather long period of time, like weeks or months. And then when you get up there, you flatline it for a little while to just see how you can handle it for another month or two, and then bring it back down, but focus more on your speed. When you run less volume, now focus more on your speed and pace. So you might get up to 40 miles a week, but that might be a couple of longer, slower distance runs thrown in there to get up to that kind of volume. And then when you come back down, really it's pretty easy. You just take out some of those long, slow distance events, and you're down to like 25 miles a week now, and then you can really focus more on speed. I'm going to show you something, because this is a little preview of my next book that I will have available hopefully September 1. Okay, so I'm trying to get this thing done in the next 2 days. I'm almost done. I'm just finally going through the final things of it. And this is my fall training. So I'm planning on getting this one done within the week. And then I'm going to get the winter done before September is over with. And then I'll get spring and summer of next year done. But this is a 4-part series. It's called Seasonal Tactical Fitness Periodization. And this is the fall transition training, where it's a mix of weights, cardio, and calisthenics, and a running regression. So it's actually going to start you off at the previous cycle, the summer, will probably end you at 30 or 40 miles a week. And this one's going to drop you down to about 25 miles a week. And you're just going to stay there for about 6 weeks. And then the next drop takes you down to like 20 miles a week, and you're going to stay there for about 6 weeks. So it is less of a, like, you kind of build up with a progression. This is kind of a block degression or regression, and you're just maintaining it, so you're not going to overuse any of those joints of the run, by running too much. So it's just bringing it down a little bit, but you're focusing on speed. And that article I just posted in the comment section is largely the training program with a little more details in what you do the rest of the day for that. So that's my latest program I'm coming up with. Just stand by for that. I should have it out in definitely ebook form by the end of the month, and in book form probably by the first week of September. So but it's been fun writing it, because it's a little bit different than my other types of programming. Still the seasonal tactical fitness periodization, but just a different model. And it gives you the option of doing a block periodization model, or you can do the regular fall transition model that I've done for years. Gives you the choice of doing a deload, like let's just say 25 miles a week. you just need a break. So every 4th week, you drop it down to like 10 or 15, but you focus more on strength, for instance, or something else, or more swimming, right? So you can kind of play around with it. Gives you some options on how to do that every 4th week deload. All right. So is there an event you didn't like at Buds? Let me think. I mean, there's a lot of events I didn't like at Buds. You know, I didn't necessarily enjoy locking arm in arm, wet and sandy, just getting cold in the water. As far as a graded, you know, I'll be honest with you, I did not like 4-mile timed runs. For every 4-mile timed run was not fun for me, and they were every week. I enjoyed the 2-mile swims. I enjoyed the obstacle course, but that 4-mile timed run was my personal gut check on what I needed to be able to do to be in the high range pass. So I wasn't flirting with failing any of the standards, but it was just my personal gut check, you know. So, all right, let's do this. Let's take a little break from questions and show a swim. I got a couple. In fact, let's start with the bad one first. Get the bad one over with, and just show you what we deal with sometimes when we have new guys that are not used to swimming. And maybe in another few weeks or so, I'll show his what he's doing now. So let me, oops. Let me see, why can't I share my screen? Okay, share screen, here we go. Sorry, my mouse is acting up a little bit. All right, so here's a guy kicking off the wall, and already, like, I don't know if you guys can see this very well, but already, let me make it every time I do that, it goes smaller. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Maybe that's the way to do it. All right, let's see how that works. So already, I can tell his kick off the wall is not going to be that good. Why? Because his arms are out like this, right? Need to be like a streamline. Get that thing behind your ears, biceps on your ears, and work on that shoulder mobility. Straighten those arms. You want to look like a torpedo. So kicks off the wall, and yeah, so he goes right into the stroke. I mean, he's already stroking not even a body length off the wall yet, where if you took advantage of that wall, you could be 10 yards off the wall easy before you do your first stroke. So right there, you know, that's an issue. Got to take advantage of those strokes because you're never going to be faster than those first 8 to 10 yards off the wall, you know, if you stay streamlined. All right, so let's see what's going on here. So he's got a top arm. Looks like he's turning to breathe, which so far that's good. All right, and look, did you notice? Did he even breathe in? Let's see if he skips breathing. I'm pretty sure he skipped his breathing. Yep, there he's breathing. So what's he doing here, though? He is looking backwards at me. I'm probably 6 feet behind him at this point, and he's looking at me. I could wave at him, and he would probably stop right now. You don't want to be looking backwards when you swim because, one, you're over rotating if you do that. Two, you know, if you want to stay either looking somewhat forward, like 45 degrees in front of you, or at worst 90 degrees out. So you should be staring directly at the wall versus the ceiling behind you, which is basically what he does. All right, so man, there's a lot going wrong here. So notice this top arm and his bottom arm when he recovers. I mean, he is way out there. I mean, it's like he's going to grab water just to slow himself down. It's like he's just pushing water this way. And every time you're recovering out here versus keeping it tight, you're slowing yourself down. And that's just, like I said, it's like swimming with the brakes on. Then you have a weak kick thrown in there. And if you notice, he starts off trying to do a scissor kick, and then he rolls over on his belly real quick and turns it into a breaststroke kick, right? Yeah. There's a lot going wrong here. Like, to the point of where it's not very useful showing you guys this swim, because it's just so bad that you're not learning a whole lot other than what not to do. That's yeah, there's a lot going wrong. Timing's wrong, kick's wrong. His turn, his top arm and his turn was pretty good, except for he just over rotated. And the reason why he over rotated is that bottom arm was a real big sweeping arm pull versus like a shorter, like breaststroke skull. So if you have one of those big sweeping bottom arms, it can over rotate you. Next thing you know, you're looking up at the ceiling or behind you, which is just a waste of rotation. You don't need to do that. So anyway, that was a 30, what's that, 37, 38 second 25. So yeah, a lot of work to be done there. So I'd like to one day be able to show you guys a before and after of that guy. It's going to take a little while, but let me see here. Why can't I can't even read okay, there we go. All right, next questions. All right, so Stu, I want to say that video you made years ago about how to improve push-ups and pull-ups was extremely helpful. Ah, thanks. Well, it's more than a video. It's, a lot of people screw up doing it from the video, where if you read this article here, this 2-week push-up, pull-up protocol, it may be a better explainer of the actual process of what you have to do. So check out this article if you're looking at that. If you need help with pull-ups and push-ups, it's a 10-day program where you do 10 days of pull-ups, 10 days of push-ups, along with your regular workout. But there's a limit every day that you have to do for your pull-ups. So let's say you can do 5 pull-ups. So you multiply that number by 5, and so 25 is your new number. So that means 25 pull-ups you have to do every day for 10 days straight. Then you take 3 days off and you test your pull-ups after a little overload, and then a 3-week or 3-day deload, and you test on day 14. So how many hours do you recommend separating your runs and lifting or calisthenics? That, once again, it depends. Depends on you, depends on your ability, depends on your timeline, depends on your schedule. There's a lot of things there. I will typically try to get most of my workout all done in the same session. So when it's working well for me, I will run and do calisthenics and or weights. And then that may take an hour and a half or so. And then I go to the pool for the next 30, 40 minutes and get that over with. And sometimes it's not, I don't get great swim workouts when I do that. It's more of a cool down phase for me. However, if you notice it affecting your swim workouts, you probably come back at lunch. So that's what I do some days when, one, the pool isn't available, or two, I'm just beat and I can't move my arms. So freestyle or CSS is going to be challenging. I will just come back at lunch and get the swim workout in. So kind of depends on you. Let's see. Do I still recommend the leg exercises in Complete Guide? Yes, I do. Squats, lunges, calves, dirty dogs, Those are great hip exercises, ski exercises. Those are awesome. Great little plyometric exercise there. Yeah, they're pretty challenging. Let's see. I have to improve streamline and double arm pull, but I feel like I'm losing a lot of speed recovering my arms from the double arm pull. Any tips? Yes. Like I said, you got to keep it tight, right? Whenever you do the double arm pull, if you hold that double arm pull glide too long, you will stop in the water, and that's not what you want to do. So do that double arm pull, hold it for a second or two, and then tight recover, and then go right into the stroke. So there's not a glide there. You go right into the stroke and you start your first breath. It's basically the breaststroke pull out transition to the CSS section's probably screwing you up. Just make sure you're a little more focused on doing that. In fact, with that question, let's go and show you a really good one. I may have shown this one last week. Can't remember. He was here last week, but I'm not sure if I was able to show this one on the online. I think I did post it on TikTok though. So I did a discussion on this one somewhere. I don't think it was here though. So this is a really good. What do you see right off the start? A really good streamline. Look at that. His head's tucked, chin tucked, got his biceps on his ears, one hand on top of the other. That's going to be a very good kickoff. Now, he happens to have pretty strong legs, so he takes full advantage of those, kicks off this wall like he is, just trying to slam a basketball, but just in a horizontal direction. And watch what happens. He is really fast off the wall. Throws a little dolphin kick, double arm pull. Look at that. Look where he comes up. I mean, that's the little that's the competition place where breaststrokers have to come up out of their breaststroke pullout. He's a body length past that for his first breath. The good news is this isn't a competition rule swim, and you can't do this for too long. Like if you're doing the whole thing underwater, they'll probably call you on it. And in fact, your inability, most people don't have the ability to do 3/4 of the pool for 500 yards. But anyway, top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. It kind of has a little double kick there that I don't like on this side. If you notice, I think this is his weak side. Top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. And with that weak side, sometimes people will move their legs when they move their arm, right? It's tied in there in a way where you move your arm and your legs will kick. And that's what it looks like's happening here. Notice when he pulls, he gets a little kick, does a little double kick there. So it's a little bit different than like flutter kicking because he does this little weird little stutter step before he does a scissor kick. So it's something he just needs to clean up. If he had fins on, probably wouldn't matter. Without fins, it could matter, especially if you have somebody who's technically understands and has rules for what the CSS is. It really is one kick per stroke. So that's, I don't like the one kick and a bunch of little flutter kicks anyway, because it's a waste of energy. But technically, the pull, breathe, kick, glide sequence of the CSS, that is the rule. It's one kick per stroke. And if you have a stickler who is grading your test, they'll tell you can't do those extra flutter kicks as a rule. I say it as a strategy, like it's exhausting. So, but check it on the way out. This is really good. He kicks off the wall. He changes sides here, so I think this might be a strong side. And notice he doesn't have the kick on his well. Oh, there he does. So a couple times he's cleaning it up. I tried to tell him to stop it. That's a little better. So top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. Yeah, this is a little more natural. So I think this is a strong side, but on his weak side, he has a little bit bigger stutter step. But that's a 45-second 50 in about 4 strokes. So this is really good. Top arm, bottom arm. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Perfect. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Nice. Doesn't get much better than that. I am being very nitpicky with this particular stroke because that's what I do. If somebody's really good, I try to find a little nitpicky thing for them to fix. And it's minor, but you never know. Somebody could call you on the actual technique form of the stroke if given an official PST. That's a good question. Does that make sense? But you asked about, I tell you what, you asked about the breaststroke pullout. Watch his transition. I want to show you the transition because I forgot to show you that. So check out this transition. Kick off the wall right there, transitions up, and then goes right into the stroke. See how he transitions? He didn't really lose a lot of momentum. I will say this, he probably could have pulled a second or two earlier, like out of the stroke. So he's right there. He probably could have glided a second or two less just to get a yard shorter, right? Because he did lose a little bit of momentum at that one point, but he picked it back up really fast because he's so streamlined. So you can get away with some overgliding as long as you're streamlined. If you're not very streamlined, overgliding just crushes you and just adds in a whole lot of extra time. Good question. Let's see. A couple more questions here. Yeah. Yeah, Eric says the pool is the reward. I would agree. Was SEAL training the same as in World War II? No. You know what you need to do, Joe? You need to read the book By Water Beneath the Wall. I don't have it. I want you guys, if you're really interested in the history of Navy SEALs, By Water Beneath the Wall, right? First of all, there were no Navy SEALs in World War II. And it's by Ben Milligan. Highly recommend it. World War IIs didn't exist until 1962, I think. Do you have any good info on TACP? Just a little bit. I mean, my my Air Force Special Ops program encompasses the IFT, and all the training that you need to crush that test, but then, as well as selection for that group. I would say this, you guys are probably going to ruck a little more than you are going to swim more. So what a lot of people do is they will do like one of the Navy SEAL Phase 1 programs first and then go into an Army SF program where there's a lot of rucking and load bearing. And that will help prepare not only for the IFT, but also for the OFT, the operator fitness test that you will also have to take in your pipeline. But check out, let's see, I wrote a couple of articles a while back ago. So it's this is one. It's a little old, but it's still. No, that's not it. Okay, this is it, I think. Yeah. So this, yeah, check this out. So I'm gonna put this link in here. Looks like it's updated with the latest IFT, though I may still call it the pass test in this article. But it's the same thing. What pace do you recommend for the CSS stroke? Stroke count is 4 to 6, not including underwater pullout. Current CSS. That's a great pace. So you're right at the pace I recommend. So I recommend a yard per second. I mean, if you're doing meters per second, that's fine too. You're going to be just a little bit faster. Though yard per second, 500 yards in 500 seconds. That's an 820. So you are doing great. 810, 820 is perfect. I think I'm trying to glide after recovering from the double arm pull. Thanks for the help. Yep, no problem. What are your thoughts on SEAL Fit Civilian Hell Week? You know what? It's a program. I personally don't do those. I have done a few in my life, I think I've done one as my own, but I've also been a guest instructor for others. And I will just tell you on an instructor level, they're exhausting. I don't like doing them as an instructor just because, I don't like staying up all night yelling at people. However, I think they are good gut checks. I think they're good tests of mental toughness. I don't think they're good builders of mental toughness necessarily. They're more tests of your mental toughness. So if you check out the latest tactical fitness report that Jeff and I did up on YouTube channel, I think it's 224. We talk about this topic in there. And Jeff's a little more not impressed by them than I am. But are they necessary? I don't think they're necessary. Are they a good thing to do if you got the time and you want to test yourself? Sure. I think they're great challenges. I would rather do that than a marathon, be honest with you. What do I think about Marine infantry? I think they're great. It's a great job. Great people that do it. Hardcore dudes. I mean, why would you ask a question like that? I think I'm going to say they suck. They're freaking Marines, man. They get after it. How many days per week would you recommend Asana? I do 0 days a week Asana, so I don't know why you need it. Never done them. Some people love it. I just haven't found a use for it. Let's see. Recommend doing strength training after hard labor. I used to work all day and then go train. Now, I will say this. It also depends on how young you are. If you're a 40-year-old dude working construction, you're probably limited in your ability in days per week that your body can handle that. A couple days a week, sure. Every day, probably not. You just don't have the recovery ability that you would if you're a teenager or early 20s. So when you're younger, probably not that big a deal. I mean, I remember working 12 hours throwing watermelons when I was a teenager. And then afterwards, during the summer, we would go lift with the football team and, just go crush football lifts and just get after it. And then we were animals during football season. We were really tough kids. And, but yeah, you could do it. I will tell you this, you're probably not going to see a lot of growth in strength training, but you could probably see some maintenance for sure. Would a butterfly kick after the scissor kick also have potential for getting you called out of overkicking the PSD? It could. It could. I know a lot of people show that. A lot of people do it. I personally don't recommend doing it unless you have spent a lifetime doing dolphin kick, because that's what that is, the dolphin kick. Because it's probably not effective. So what I did recently is I had a guy who came in here and he was doing pull, breathe, kick, hold the glide, do a dolphin kick during the glide, and then pull, breathe, kick, hold the glide, dolphin kick during the glide. And so we did the math and we tested. I said, all right, let's do let's do a 250 and see where your stroke count is per length and your time per length is for each 50. And he was a little faster with that Dolphin kick, but I noticed that his about 250 right before we went into his 300, he was slowing down with his, so his conditioning was a little challenged at that 250 mark. So he was slowing down probably about 3 seconds from his first 50. And he hit it right there at like 4 minutes flat. So pretty good. Probably could have, if he could have held that, he was going to be right there at the 4 minute, 8 minute flat time zone, or maybe 8:20 with some tiring. Then we did another 250 with him not doing the butterfly kick or Dolphin kick, and his 50 stayed the same right at that yard per second zone. So he was right at like 410, right? And so for me, it wasn't worth adding, let's see, 5 Dolphin kicks per stroke. So let's say he's doing 6 strokes per length. That's 10 links, that's 60. So 20 links, that's 120 Dolphin kicks to save 20 seconds on a PST. Not worth it. So you got to really ask yourself, is adding that extra kick worth it if you get away with it? Some people won't let you get away with it. Army infantry or Marine Corps infantry? What would you tell guys? I'm disinclined. Nice learning and aggressive. I'm not sure what your English is there. Either one. My recommendation is this. The job is very similar. You may be doing some more over the beach stuff with the Marines than you would with the Army. That's natural to assume that. Look where you will live, where all the bases are, compared to the Army bases. That is something that was a big decision factor in whether or not I chose Navy or Army when I was a kid. Or not a kid, but teenager getting ready to go, either Navy or Army. I looked at my world and I was like, I would be living here, 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 here. If I was in the Navy, I'd be living here, 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 here. If I was in the Army, the one thing about the Navy and Marine Corps, for the most part, is there's always a beach town. And if you grow up in Florida, you like beach towns. That was me. I happen to enjoy that more than not a beach town. So there you go. Instead of going SOF, I was thinking of joining infantry instead. So you think more guys should? I can still swim 500-meter timed. You know what? The cool thing about Army or Marine Corps, regular military, is it is a logical progression to go into spec ops. So if you spend some time in the infantry, great. You're learning how to shoot, you're learning land nav, you're learning rucking. It's hard, right? It's hard progression, right? Then you may see Ranger School tryouts or you see recon tryouts, and you're like, all right, I'm a pretty good swimmer. Let me go try to do the recon tryouts. Hey, I like this rucking and jumping and stuff. Let me go try Ranger tryouts. There's a logical path into special ops in the Marine Corps and the Army. There is not one in the Navy or Air Force. There's nothing in the Air Force and the Navy that prepares you for a spec ops career. So that's why they tend to bring them from the street versus from the fleet. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with considering infantry first do your time in infantry, and if you feel like you want to still progress into a different level of training, you can do that. These dudes have to want to be tough. Snow removal. That's snow removal's tough. I won't lie. With a shovel for about 12 to 36 hours. That make you tough. And even if you're in the truck, staying up all night moving snow, for sure. That's good. I mean, that's good tough job for sure. Do you recommend any supplementation to help with endurance and conditioning? I do not. If you're trying to do this job and go through selection, I mean, I know at Buds they don't allow any supplements at all when you go through Buds. So why get addicted to them or psychologically addicted to them, like you need them in order to perform well now when you can't use them then? So I just never used them. About the only thing I've ever done is protein powder. I use these D3. Let me see what else I got. Multivitamins, fish oil. That's about as much supplementation as I take. And then, like, I just had a simple greens shake with protein powder in it. Do only 0 to 25% still only graduate during winter months at Buds? There has not been a 0% Buds class in like 30, maybe even 40 years. So no to the 0. But I will tell you, recent winter classes were down to like the 10-15% range. So yes, typical attrition at Buds is 75 to 80% attrition. When it goes above that, it is hard for the SEAL community to sustain that level of attrition and keep the needs of the Navy SEAL community met. So they don't want much less than 20-25%. Do you have any knowledge on how much you fin at MARSOC compared to Buds? I don't know that. I mean, I will tell you at Buds, it's only 2 miles a week. You will swim a 2-mile ocean swim a week. Now, in second phase, you will scuba dive every day. And 1 week, it's two-a-days dives. Once you're in the Dregger phase, so you will be wearing fins every day of the week during second phase. So it just depends on what phase you're in, really. Eric says not 29 palms. Good point. What are the oldest students you will work with who are trying to get to Buds? I don't screen anybody that wants to prepare to serve. So, I've had guys that are 33, 34 years old that got age waivers and were able to go to Buds. So it's very possible. I get 13-year-olds wanting to go to Buds that train with us if they can fit it in their schedule. So I don't really have an age limit. My only limiting factor to who trains with me, and remember, these are free training programs we do here locally, is you have to be preparing to serve in some fashion, or have served, or currently serving. That's it. So I get a lot of police officers that are trying out for SWAT teams that come and join us. Get some firefighters in there just for regular maintenance. Sometimes they're doing a firefighter competition. They'll come join us. Then we get some active duty military that are stationed here locally that are trying out for special ops jobs. And then we get candidates that are civilian that are preparing to serve in any one of those three worlds. And we do some workouts together. I don't really care about age. However, I don't like to go too young just because some of the conversations we have might not be right for young minds. You understand what I'm saying? Let's see. Hey, Stu, I bought your cardio and calisthenics program and spring summer training cycles. Had a quick question regarding the workouts. There are no set rest intervals. What should you aim for? That's up to you, Todd. My recommendation is try to make the rest an active rest. So, what that means is, like you may do a push-pull combination of activities, right? There's really not a whole lot of rest. You may do a run with some leg PT. There's really not a whole lot of rest. I would say limit your rest to hydrating and a light stretch, and then go again. Seconds, not minutes. Unless it's in a strength training cycle and you need a little extra rest before your next heavier lift. That's a different animal altogether. But spring, summer, calisthenics, cardio, it's really about endurance and muscle stamina and building your work capacity. So minimal rest is recommended. Your 2-week push-up program helped me increase my push-ups for the service academy. Great. Good job. Former football player, running consistent 6:30 pace 3-mile. That's good. I do speed trees, 400-meter sprints. What do you suggest? I would personally, since you have been working on your speed, I will say this. Your sprints are probably, if you were to pull them and place them into a 1.5 mile or 3-mile timed run, for instance, you would probably be hitting like 5-minute mile pace. For the most part, yes, you need some sprinting ability, but if you're preparing for more faster 3-mile runs, you can use that as just a different energy system push one day. But my recommendation is to get good at your future goal pace. So right now you're at 19:30 on a 3-mile, 6:30 mile pace. My recommendation is now practice running 6-minute mile pace for all of your intervals. So your 400-meter intervals, your 800-meter intervals, your mile repeats that you would do in a week. Make those 6-minute mile pace. So that means 90-second quarters, 3-minute 800s, 6-minute miles. Get used to running that pace for those distances. Next thing you know, if you can do 6 800s at that 3-minute mile or 3-minute mile or 3-minute half-mile pace, and with maybe 100-meter walk rest in between, that's a really good way to build closer to an 18-minute mile run versus doing, a whole lot of really full speed sprints. Full speed sprints are needed, don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily going to help you learn your pace that you need to maintain for 18 minutes to get a 3-mile. So if you look at that article I posted earlier about running, running program to get you to and through buds or to and through selection, check that out because it's only 20 miles a week, but it gives you 3 really good it gives you 4 really good workouts per week. Some you will do more than once, so it's 5 or 6 days a week of running, of ways to work on that pace. So, yeah, check that out. 12 count leg exercise at Buds. I'm not sure. I mean, we used to do 16 count bodybuilder push-ups and 8 count bodybuilder push-ups. Maybe I have 12 count. Now I think about it. 12 count body. Maybe that's what you're thinking. Oh, the 12 count log exercise. Sorry, I thought that said leg. Yeah, it's not a big deal. You start off at 1 down by the feet, 2 at your waist, 3 at the shoulder, 4 overhead, 4 other shoulder, waist, down, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's basically just taking a log from your right side all the way to your left side to the ground and all the way back up to the left side. It's not that big a deal. As long as you got a good teamwork working with you, it's not that challenging. You do a lot of them, it's very challenging. Any sleeping aid tips? Trying to get 7 to 8 hours. My body only takes 5 to 6 at the moment. I usually drink a big glass of milk before bed. That seems to be helpful. Some people, like if you're in the military, probably can't do this, but CBD PM, some people like this. I've tried it a few times. I fall asleep pretty quickly, so it's not a big deal for me. So I've tried that a few times, and I think it works. You should read an article that Jeff Nichols and I wrote, and I think it's in this one. Yeah. So Jeff Nichols and I wrote this article on sleep. It's on military.com, and it's about getting restorative sleep. So check out this article I just posted in there. It's pretty good. Everything from actually having a time, like instead of having an alarm to wake up, have one that tells you it's time to go to bed. Set that thing for 9:30. That thing goes off, you should start your bedtime ritual then. Brush your teeth, whatever, take a shower, jump in the bed, your lights out, no devices, no phones, no TVs, read for 15 minutes, shut it down. Figure out a sleeping ritual. Just like when you wake up in the morning, you kind of have a ritual of getting up, use the bathroom, brush your teeth, put your shoes on, out the door. Whatever that ritual is. Let's see, a couple more questions, and then we'll do a one last CSS. For the spring summer cycles, week 7 currently averaging 2 to 3 hours a day to complete the exercises listed. What do you say a good goal average of these workouts? Good question. These are workouts that we actually did, and we usually finish them from 6 to 8, sometimes 7:45. So we're done with those workouts anywhere from an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. Now, if you have a longer ruck added to that, sometimes that's a secondary workout that's going to take you another 45 minutes to an hour. I get it. That's a different story. But if it's just a normal PT, run, swim, maybe a lift thrown in there, we usually get those done in 2 hours. That's where we go. But it's a quick one. Any tips on passing DEVGRU? No. I would say get through Buds first. It's my first tip. You get through Buds first, then you can figure out how to get through DEVGRU. All right, let's do this. Let's share a screen. Got one more video I wanted to show you guys. Oh yeah, so this is a good one. What I wanted to show you guys on this is where when I teach a swimmer, someone who was on a high school swim team, how to do the CSS. This is typically what I get. Somebody who is in such good swimming shape that they don't need to be that efficient, but it comes to bite them in the ass later whenever you add in push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups in a 1.5 mile run. They might be able to crush this swim in 6:45 rather inefficiently. And you'll see what I'm talking about here whenever he kicks off the wall. It's got a good kickoff, goes right into the stroke. Could have even glided more, but as you can see what's happening here, I mean, he's really fast. But what's he not doing? There's no glide phase to this. And if he were to hold this, I think it's a 20-yard pool he's doing here. If he were to hold this for much longer, let's count those strokes first. If he were to hold this much longer, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So almost 7 strokes to get across the pool, a 20-yard pool. So a 25-yard pool probably would have been closer to 10. That gets tiring to do. Even though he's a swimmer and he can probably hold on that pace for most of the 500 and probably get sub 7, is it worth that level of effort to do that? Right? Because I tell you what's going to happen. That's a lot of effort. You're going to burn a lot of glycogen that you may need for pull-ups and push-ups. You're going to burn you're kicking a lot more, so you're going to probably burn out your hip flexors a little bit. That may affect your sit-ups, may also affect your run with all those extra strokes, and all extra kicks. So in the end, it's probably not that beneficial to crush the swim like that. What my suggestion to him is hold each glide for about 2 seconds before you start the next stroke. And you may find that what you're doing right here is just wasting a lot of momentum and the ability to just hold the glide and still be at that same speed for 2 to 3 seconds after the kick, instead of just going right into the next stroke. You just hold that glide just a little longer, and you're going to be close to that pace even with the glide and fewer strokes. So, that is where a lot of swimming athletes have their problem. They think that this is a competition and they don't really worry about the glide phase because they don't necessarily need to conserve energy in the pool because they're such good swimming shape. But I wouldn't do it that way because it's exhausting. If you're a non-swimming athlete, don't watch that because that swimming method right there is not designed for you. I don't recommend it even for swimmers. If you're doing just to see who has the fastest 500-yard swim in a pool one day, knock yourself out. Do it however you want. But if you're trying to take a fitness test that hinges on your ability to go attend a spec ops training, if you pass or fail that thing, you don't want to swim like that because you want to be able to crush the other events equally as well. Tell Jake to stop bashing the 30-year-olds. Well, you know what? He's not wrong in a sense that, the Navy will look at you, but they aren't exactly searching for you, right? They're not searching for 30-year-olds to go to BUD/S. It is people that really want to go to BUD/S, and you basically have to twist their arm to talk them into letting you go to BUD/S. That's just the way it is. So he's not wrong with his reasoning, but it is a younger man's job. I will tell you, I got out when I was 30, and I was pretty broken at age 30 after 8 years. So am joining the Navy SEALs in my country in 1 year. When should I start running in boots so I can get used to it? My recommendation is build up over time to about 50% of your runs each week in boots. So start off with 1 a day, maybe your shorter run in boots, and then build up to your longer run of the week in boots, and then build up to 2-a-days and build up to 3-a-days and kind of progress like that to a point where half of your runs are in boots. That is a very logical progression, and that should take you a couple of months to go from not running in boots to running to 50% of your runs in boots. So give yourself 2 months to build up to 50% of your mileage in boots. All right. Hey, wow, man, where'd this hour go? Holy crap. All right, so here's the deal. I am about to go do a tactical fitness report with Jeff Nichols. It'll be posted up on YouTube today. It is going to be on the trifecta of running injuries, starting off with the feet, ankles, feet and ankles, shins and knees, right? So I have to go and do that now. You guys, thanks for listening. I had no idea it was already after 10. You guys, for listening, thanks a lot. Check out compete code 20 to save 20% over at stewsmithfitness.com if you're looking for new programs. I should have my very newest program, that seasonal tactical fitness periodization fall transition workout, up at the end of the month. Hopefully by September 1st is my goal. So I will chat with you later. You guys have a good one.